Shadow Minister Kevin Holland-Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it is disappointing that I've again had to ask an urgent question that neither the Secretary of State nor the Postal Affairs Minister has responded to either of those urgent questions. This is a very clearly important matter and one deserving of full scrutiny by this House. Only 12 days ago, to give the House a significant update, only a written statement was available. One of the final acts of the last government was to pass legislation which, for the first time in history, made a clear commitment that these victims would be able to apply for redress before the summer recess. This commitment has not been honoured. Although claimants can now register for redress, to do so they need available to those individuals written to by the Ministry of Justice, who have today confirmed that only 10 postmasters of the 700 have received such a letter. So can I ask the 690 postmasters be written to? Assuming claimants apply for the most rapid form of redress, a fixed sum award, when will the first £600,000 payment be made? The Secretary of State will acknowledge that we had conversations regarding course of appeal convictions, and these cases are given assistance to overturn their convictions. The last government also announced that we would top up claimants in the Horizon shortfall scheme to that effect. And finally, where is the Secretary of State, or where is the member for Harrow West, who I understand has been appointed Post Office?
And they should, and that's not the case now either. And I understand the frustration that the Shadow Secretary, the Shadow Secretary of State made that promise as a minister. He did so in good faith, but it has turned out that there have been meant that there have been delays. But the Ministry of Justice have actually put more resource into that to ensure that that carries on at pace. As is noted, the website is now up and running. Applicants can register on that now. I'm pleased to report
together 2,417 offers have been accepted and 110 convictions on the OCS scheme. Initial payments have now been made to 103 of those people.
We come to the Lib Democrats. Spokesperson Sarah Olney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's been said many times across this House, but it bears repeating. This
is taking too long. We have been working with lawyers who've signed up to a framework for representing claimants, and we're looking at ways that we can speed the process up. There are issues in terms of actually collating answers. We are looking at an independent mediation step after the initial decisions and offers are made. And also,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a whole number of individuals out there who, because they weren't directly back to the post office, but because of the circumstances they find themselves in, hence circumstances.
I'll thank my honourable friend for the question. I think there are some specific circumstances there that I would welcome his further information on. If he can contact the department and the relevant minister, we'll look through those circumstances and see if there is anything we can do, because we really do not want anyone to be out of pocket as a result of this scandal.
A much-loved postmaster. They actually also lost their post office as well. Would the minister issue with the post office to make sure a post office is returned to the village?
Thank the right honourable member for his question. I'll certainly that they can access. They are a vital part of our infrastructure in this country.
How confident he is that there will be no further obstacles put in the way of justice and redress in Scotland by the Scottish Government following those conversations.
I thank the honourable man.
Dame Caroline Downey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is a national scandal, and it's almost impossible to quantify the lack of trust, the loss of trust that has resulted both with the government, but also to ensure that the information and the support to make these applications to the redress scheme for every single postmaster that had been affected, every single one that had a conviction quashed, is going to be taking place.
Thank the honourable member for a question. It's a very important one. Disclosure packs are being proceed for a more detailed assessment of the claim. It will include details of their contracts and remuneration with the Post Office, details of whether they were eligible for the Royal Mayor Share Plan, and indeed any other information to make sure they have all the information they need to make an informed decision on this.
It's Osborne.
Speaker, the Minister will be aware that I've long campaigned on this issue. He might not yet be aware of a letter that I sent to 555 sub-postmasters, of which my constituent Chris Head belongs. Chris was one of the thousands of Horizon scandal people impacted by the scandal, and he himself has still owned with me and Chris to discuss these issues.
I thank my honourable friend for her question. I am indeed aware of the letter, and the relevant minister will agree to meet her and her constituent, and I'll make sure that request is passed on to him.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As a member for Ynys-Môn, I represent Lorraine Williams' birthday in jail for a crime that he never took place. It is clear that sub-postmasters continue to be treated appallingly by the UK government in the wake of the Horizon scandal, made to feel guilty for the cost of compensation for the public purse. Can the Secretary of State give me...
My question is, are you going to do anything about those people who arguably knew that the Fujitsu software called Horizon sub-postmasters, many of whom went to prison? Personally, I think there must be some redress, and those people going right the way efficient, they must suffer some form of penalty.
Honourable member makes an important point which has been raised on a number of occasions previously. We believe that the correct, we will take forward their recommendations, because I think it's important that we see that individuals do take some responsibility and accountability for their actions.
Change what has happened, we must establish what went wrong. So can the Minister assure the House that he will carefully consider the findings of the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry?
Take responsibility for their actions.
Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. One of my constituents who was affected by the Horizon...
Take responsibility for their actions.
Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. One of my constituents who was affected by the Horizon scandal was about to end more than 20 weeks to take on a post office for those 2 months. She did, and got caught up in the Horizon scandal. She then had months of trauma of trying to prove her innocence, arguing with the post office, and was sacked, lost the package and lost a lot of expense. I spoke to the previous minister about it, and she has applied for compensation, but she's now being told that she's not entitled because she didn't have a contract, which she says she did have. So will the minister meet me to discuss how we can possibly protect people and ensure that they get the compensation they're entitled to, and that we don't have this continual excuse finding for not paying people who deserve compensation?
I'm grateful to the honourable member for raising that question. Where there are evidential difficulties, we are looking at other ways that we can make sure that those who should be eligible are entitled to the claim, and I'm happy to have further conversations with respect to that.
Jim Chapman.
Can I thank the Minister very much for the answers to the questions that have been posed. And I make representations for the 26 postmasters from Northern Ireland who have been fighting for years, and indeed for more years as well, to clear their name. Whilst it is fantastic that movement has been made to undo the wrongs of this scandal, and for that I thank the Minister and the Government very much, what steps have been taken to ensure that compensation is issued to all postmasters across the UK in a timely manner to avoid more delays and miscarriage of justice, including those 26 from Northern Ireland? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Well, thank the honourable member for his question. We are working closely with the Northern Ireland Executive to make sure that all the information required is verified and corroborated, so that those individuals in Northern Ireland who have been caught up in this scandal receive that letter as soon as possible.
Right, that completes the urgent question. We'll let the front benches change over. I now call the Deputy Prime Minister to make us.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And before I begin my statement, I know the whole House will join me in sending our deepest condolences and strength in the hours ahead to those affected by yesterday's shocking incident in Southport. And as a mother and grandmother, I'm involved. And I'd like to echo the words of the Honourable Member for Southport in thanking the police and the emergency services for their swift response, and our thoughts for their lives as well. Mr Speaker, with your permission, I've come to the House to make a statement about this government's plan to get Britain building. Delivering economic growth is our #1 mission. It's our public services. So today I am setting out a radical plan to not only get the homes we desperately need in temporary accommodation, nearly 1.3 million households on social housing waiting lists, Under 30s, less than half as likely to own their own home compared to in the 19% in the last year. Total homelessness at record levels. There are simply not enough homes. Those on the benches opposite, as my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, said yesterday, they ducked the difficult decisions. They put party before country. Parliament. But they failed to get anywhere near their target of 300,000 homes a year. And in a bid to appease, they did it. And as I stand here today, I can now reveal the result. That the number of new homes is now likely to drop below 200. This legacy makes our job all the harder, but it also makes it so much more urgent. So today, I'll explain how Labour will deliver the change needed to turbocharge growth and build more homes. Whilst the previous government watered down housing targets, caving into their anti-growth need, so it better reflects the urgency of supply for local areas. Rather than relying on outdated data, this new method will reach communities, and it will incorporate an uplift where house prices are most out of step with local incomes.